stressed. I thought it was because of us.
Well, I wasn't stressed until I had to redraw all of Baltimore County by tomorrow. I was doing great.
Well, that takes your mind off the testifying.
Yeah, that's the problem.
Are you going to be on C-SPAN?
I suppose so. This is all on the Facebook stuff. So it's the Homeland Security and Governmental Affairs Committee tomorrow. So you can certainly watch it on the web. Maybe it'll be on C-SPAN. I think it probably will be.
Very cool. Well, I mean, I don't know. Congress, Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. I don't know. It's a toss-up.
I hope we're less controversial.
All right, it is 6 o'clock. I'm going to go ahead just real quickly and kind of start the just to let those who are joining us know the process for this evening. Good evening and welcome to the fourth public meeting of round 3 of the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. This is the final meeting of the commission at which public testimony will be accepted. This meeting is being recorded. As we begin, there are a few matters to share regarding the rules and policies for this evening's meeting, as well as some tips about the platform that will assist our speakers in understanding how to use the Zoom platform. This meeting offers Spanish interpretation. To listen in Spanish, you will note that there is a box on the Zoom control panel, either at the bottom or the top of your screen, for interpretation. Please click on that box and select Spanish. We also ask for speakers to remember that there is live Spanish interpretation and to speak slowly and clearly. There will be a 3-minute allotment for speakers so that everyone who wants to speak may speak. When there is about 20 seconds left of your speaking time, a screen share will come on with a countdown timer, and we ask that you wrap up your remarks. Inappropriate speaking, attire, behavior, or background will result in the removal from the meeting without an option to rejoin. Anyone registering after 5 p.m. today should ask to join as a speaker in the chat section, as your name may not be on the list of pre-registered speakers. You will not be able to share your screen or any maps as they must be submitted at least 24 hours prior to the meeting. If you did not register to speak but want to, you can request to do so in a message to the panelists via the chat feature. There is a control bar at the bottom of your screen. Select chat box and send a message to the panelists indicating your name and the county in which you reside. The raise hand option should not be used to request to speak. Speakers should ensure their name is listed properly, and if not, please change it to reflect your correct name. This is because we have to move each speaker from attendee status to a panelist so that they may speak. Please note, the participants list is not public to protect the privacy of those calling in due to their phone numbers being listed in the attendee list. Pre-registered speakers will go first, then chat request speakers will be called in order of their request. Speakers providing testimony should be aware that they will be made a panelist when it is their turn to speak, which will enable them to unmute and turn on their video or their camera. There may be a short delay while the speaker's screen goes from attendee to panelist. This is normal. You may see a screen message indicating that the host would like to promote you to a panelist. You should accept that by clicking the Join as Panelist button. We'll wait about 5 to 10 seconds for the speaker to go live. If the speaker doesn't join, we'll simply move on to the next speaker and then come back to the speaker who was unable to join. Once speakers are finished, we must move them back to attendee status. That may result in the speaker seeing a spinning wheel or a message that they are rejoining the meeting. You have not been removed from the meeting, it's just simply changing screens. We know this is a lot of information, but want to assist you in understanding how this meeting will operate so it can go as smoothly as possible. With that, I'd like to introduce you to our host for this evening, Dr. Kate Hetherington, who serves as one of the co-chairs of the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. Dr. Hetherington?
Thank you, Kristen. Good evening, everyone, and welcome to the final meeting of the round 3 update. I just would like to, first of all, thank all my fellow commissioners for their commitment to this process. We began public meetings back on May 5th, And this included a series of not only the sessions that we have for the public, but the working sessions. So their commitment of time and energy to this process is to be commended. Just for everyone's knowledge, this is our group is a mix of Democrats, Republicans, and independents. And all of us have embraced our charge to create new district boundaries that are free from political influence and offer the opportunity for fair elections in Maryland. We have developed a transparent process which allows Marylanders to not only observe our group's work, but also to engage in the process. So as I said, we began our meetings on May 5th. And to date, we have received, as of the last count that I looked at this afternoon, 86 citizen map submissions. We've hosted 33 public meetings, this being 34th. We've worked diligently to present the public with final proposed draft maps, and we have completed the congressional and state Senate maps. I say completed final draft proposals, and expect more discussion this evening on legislative maps based on everything that we have been reading, and we have been reading and seeing a lot, and we will be reviewing that this evening. We've had in the aggregate over 3,100 attendees at our public meetings. And we've had social media posts that have resulted in over 42,500 impressions and reached over 50,000 people on Facebook. And for every meeting, we make sure that the public knows that we have these meetings. Press releases have been sent out, and they are sent out for every meeting to over 46,000 contacts. Our meetings offer live Spanish translation and closed captioning for the hearing impaired. And our promotional materials have been translated to Spanish and distributed to the Latino community by our Hispanic advisor. The amount of people in each congressional, state, Senate, and legislative district is not random. Based on the census data, which dictates how many people should be in each. That's how that's determined. And while the Senate and legislative districts may have a small percentage difference, the congressional districts are to be drawn with the same amount of people. We heard a lot of discussion so far on single versus multi-member legislative districts, and the executive order which we received from the governor that created our commission calls for various considerations, including single member districts to the extent possible that are as nearly equal in population as feasible, giving due regard for natural boundaries and boundaries of political subdivisions. And in drawing these districts, the commission also has to take into consideration the Voting Rights Act. The Voting Rights Act protects racial and language minority groups from vote dilution. The purpose of round three, and as I mentioned, this is the final of the fourth meeting of round three, is for the public to comment on these maps and provide input and suggestions. And we're very appreciative of the feedback that we have received. And we, as I said, have been reading it throughout up until probably just before this meeting because it's been significant. So with that, I would like to first acknowledge Professor Priscilli, who has been a terrific resource for us. We call on him on all hours of the day and night to look at maps that we are considering. He's been very flexible, and as we hear from the public, we try and make the appropriate adjustments and realize that every time we make an adjustment, it has an impact on some other part of the state of Maryland. But we're mindful of that and trying to do the best we can and trying to be fair and open and listening to the public. So with that, I'm going to ask the members of the commission to introduce themselves. I'm Kate Hetherington. I'm a resident of Howard County and a very recent retiree. I retired as president of Howard Community College. I'm going to ask the other two co-chairs to introduce themselves, and then I'll ask the members of the commission. So Walter?
Thank you, Kate. My name is Walter Olson. I live in Frederick County. I'm a fellow with a think tank.
Judge?
Yes, good evening. I'm Alex Williams. I'm a retired federal judge, and I'm a resident of Prince George's County, Maryland.
Great. Thank you, Walter and Judge Williams. And now I ask the members of the commission to introduce themselves. And I see Jay.
Good evening, Jay Amin, a resident of Anne Arundel County, and I'm in the land development and home building.
Cheryl.
Good evening. I'm Cheryl Brooks, an elementary school principal and a resident of Baltimore County.
Mary.
Hello, I'm Mary Clausen, a resident of Anne Arundel County and a retired federal employee.
And Kim.
Hi, Kim Cummings. I'm a longtime resident of Maryland's Eastern Shore, currently reside in Dorchester County, where I work at the Circuit Court as supervisor for land records and licensing.
All right, Jonathan.
Hi, I'm Jonathan Fussfield. I'm a communications manager for a research firm, and I live in Montgomery County.
All right, thank you. And William.
Good evening, William Thomas. I'm a senior principal engineer for the Department of Defense. I'm also a grassroots organizer, and I live in Baltimore City.
All right, thank you all. And again, thank you for your commitment to this process and literally hundreds of hours that all of you have spent since we began last spring. The agenda has, I think, something different than what we were going to begin with. And I believe we're going to begin with the testimony. At last call, we had at least 20 people ready to testify. And then following that, we will take a look at some of the submissions that we've received and have discussion on that. So we will follow the public testimony with a working session as we have done in previous sessions. So with that, Kristen, I'm going to ask you to introduce our first speaker, please.
Okay, our first speaker tonight is Delegate Bob Long. I will say, as our speakers join, I'd like for you to know that in the past, we have been able to know what county you're from and what map you'd like to speak about. This evening's report did not generate those items for some reason. So I'd ask that as you join, if you could please let the panel know what county in which you reside. And if there is a specific map and you know that map number, to please let us know right when you join so that we can pull that map up for you. Delegate Long?
Yes, hi, thank you for giving me this opportunity to speak tonight. I'm Delegate Bob Long for the record. I represent the 6th Legislative District right now. It's part of Essex, Dundalk, Middle River, Edgemere, 6th Legislative District. My expertise in the field that I am currently employed is I'm a real estate broker. I've been in the real estate industry for over 35 years. I've been involved in sales and transactions in the 6th Legislative District and Baltimore City and different areas for, like I say, 35 years. I have been a developer. I've developed waterfront lots. I developed churches. I've been involved in real estate for many, many years. I have a lot of background in real estate. When I look at these maps, the first thing that come to me is the communities. If you look at the difference of the way the lines are drawn, and one that I'm referencing to first is 20A, 20 is senatorial 20, 20A, B, and C. That takes us into Baltimore City. 20A, B, and C actually combines Dundalk, which is Eastern Baltimore County, to Dundalk, goes into, it connects into, wait a second, 20A goes into, is Dundalk, where I live and where I represent right now. It connects Fells Point and that area as 20B. It goes further down and goes over all the way into 20B, or C, I'm sorry. It actually goes all the way down to Fort McHenry. And the difference in these neighborhoods are nothing, we have none of the same interests. None of the same problems, different tax bases, different, I mean, everything's totally different. If you look at the maps, the way they're drawn, we have riparian rights here. And because we are a waterfront community, we do have riparian rights. And I thought about this long and hard. No place in Baltimore City do they have riparian rights, and that's a right to the water. It's just totally different. If you look at the Essex area, they have riparian rights, which is part of our district now. That would have been 43, I believe, or 43. Yeah, I believe 43. I have to apologize. My laptop from the state actually came back, was not mine. So I'm kind of looking at some notes. anyway, 43 goes all the way into Middle River, which is, I understand they're also a waterfront community, but it goes all the way into Aberdeen. And I'm just trying to figure out how in the world do these three communities have anything alike? Anyway, I see my time slipping away. I would ask this commission to please consider not tearing our communities in half, because we are a tight-knit community down here, and we do have the same interest. And I want to thank you for your time, and thank you for your effort. And for the record, I'm Delegate Bob Long. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Long, for your testimony.
Thank you.
Kristen? We
Our
have
next
another
speaker is Senator Johnny Salling. The senator has been promoted. There he is. I believe he is from Baltimore County.
Senator Salling, you want to unmute yourself, please? Senator Salling, we can neither hear you nor see you. Now we can see you. Okay, you're good. All right, welcome.
Thank you very much for this opportunity. I'm Senator Johnny Salling, part of the 6th District of Baltimore County. I kind of going to go off a little bit with maybe Delegate Long stating. Living in this district all my life, I see a lot of differences from what they have comparing to where we are now in the 6th District and what do you have on the maps. I think the proposed maps are currently drawn do not even keep together our communities. Matter of fact, if you see from Sparrows Point and Edgemere all the way to Fort Howard, and you see Dundalk, Essex, Middle River, we also have, and we go to the city line, and we have Colgate and part of Rosedale. There's no comparison because we have in our area, we have a lot of same stories. We have the same problems. We have the similar successes and concerns. One of our major problems that we do have neighboring North and Middle River is the midge problem that we do have as a bug, small little bug we have. It's a major problem in our area that we've been working really hard in our community. So that's just one of the things of the problems that we do have. But the successes that we've had here, we've developed a great relations with our businesses and with our schools, especially our schools lately. We have done some really good work with our schools. And there are drastic changes from our area compared to what you have in your map. Again, I won't be long. I just want to know that first and foremost, I appreciate all your work that you have done. You have been working very hard and you have tried, I know you're trying to do the best. The numbers at times can get complicated, but I know you're doing your best effort. But redrawing in this sense, to me, doesn't make any sense because of the comparison in the city and the county and what we have there. So I'm hoping more than anything we can work together and come to a common place. And again, I can't say it enough. I'm going to thank you so much for all that you've done and all the work. And I look forward to working with you very soon. Thank you so much.
All right. Thank you so much, Senator Salling. Thank you for your testimony. We appreciate it. And Kristen, who do we have next to speak?
Our next speaker is Delegate Lauren Arakan. I'm sorry if I've pronounced your name incorrectly.
Did you call me? Sorry, I couldn't hear you there.
I did. Yes, there you are.
Great. Thank you. Thank you so much for having me. Thank you all for all the work you're doing. I serve on the Judiciary Committee. I represent District 7, so I know a little bit about how long meetings can go. So thanks for committing to doing this for us. I've gotten a good bit of constituent contact recently about the commission and some of the maps. So I just wanted to touch on a few things that folks are reaching out to me about. So the first thing was that there's a community called Kingsville, and it's mostly on the Baltimore County side, but there's also a good bit of it that's on over the gunpowder on the other side. And I would love to see that community sort of stay together. They have similar interests and needs. And so if that could be addressed, that would be really awesome. The other thing that folks have reached out to me, like the previous speakers said, the good delegates and senators from Baltimore County, their crossing over into the city doesn't make as much sense as if we had crossed over in the Jewish community to try and keep those voices together. Splitting them up makes a lot less sense, I think. So if we have to sort of pull from outside, I know I tried to use this mapping tool and I literally couldn't do it. It is really complicated and really difficult. So I God bless you guys for doing this. But if we could find a way to, instead of, messing around on the eastern side, instead keep that community together, I think that would be really awesome and makes a lot more sense. And just in general, sort of keeping the rural area together. But I know Harford County right now is so much at the northern part is so much into Cecil County. If there's a way to not do that, the people on the other side of the river on that side have a lot of different issues compared to sort of the northern Harford County, Hereford zone people. I think they have a lot more issues similarly. Yeah, there's the map. That's great. So if there's any way to sort of shift that back over so that we can keep the sort of agricultural people on the sort of west side of the river, that would be, I think, really, really great. So I don't really have any other major things to add except for to thank you guys again for doing this. And I've heard great feedback that when people come to you guys with issues that you are doing your best to accommodate, which is really, really rare in government. So thanks for what you all are doing.
Thank you, Delegate Aricon. Appreciate your testimony. And Kristen, our fourth speaker is?
Our fourth speaker is Steve Shapiro. Maria or John, if you could promote him to a panelist. When we stopped sharing that screen, my screen went dead.
Sure can. Steve, you should now be a panelist.
I'm not seeing him.
Should. There he is.
Mr. Shapiro?
Hi, are you able to hear me?
We can see you and hear you now, yes.
Okay, thank you, Dr. Hetherington. I appreciate the process that the commission has used, and I particularly appreciate the commission's efforts to address my concerns with districts 10 and 12. First off, I am from Bethesda in Montgomery County, and I'm going to be referring first to Delegate Plan 1080, and then later to Congressional Plans 1074 and 1076. Regarding legislative districts 10 and 12, the boundary should be River Road. Apologies if I was not clear on that earlier. Having the boundary at Massachusetts Avenue would bisect the community served by the Westmoreland Civic Association. The Westmoreland Civic Association serves neighborhoods on both sides of Massachusetts Avenue. So moving the boundary between 10 and 12 to River Road would keep all of those neighborhoods together. Delegate Plan 1080 incorporates River Road as that boundary. I've also made adjustments to the populations of districts 10, 11, and 12 to even the populations, and I found it easier to make those trades by way of District 11 rather than doing it directly between 10 and 12. Further, seconding Delegate Gutierrez's comments last week, I would recommend that District 12 be split into individual delegate districts to address the significant socioeconomic and racial differences between different parts of District 12. And Plan 1080 splits District 12 into individual single-member districts for Chevy Chase, Kensington, and Silver Spring. 1080 also splits District 10 in case the commission decides to further implement single-member delegate districts. It was interesting in that exercise, I found that 10C, the western half of 10, is half as dense as 10A and 10B in the eastern part. And 10C would also have the second highest Asian population of any delegate district at 26%. Turning now to the congressional maps, I'd encourage the commission to make changes to address comments and your further reflections. Please don't be reluctant to make improvements at this point just because something wasn't proposed sooner, because these will be our maps for the next 10 years. Simplest is not always the best. 3 to 4 districts may be appropriate or better than 1 or 2 districts in a large, diverse county. Lastly, regarding the Black majority districts, I'd say incompatible areas should not be included in those districts, like Pasadena and Severna Park are now. I'd encourage you to move St. Mary's and Calvert counties out of the district with Prince George's, and my maps 1074 and 76 include some examples of how that might be done.
Thank you, Mr. Shapiro, for your testimony, both tonight and the written testimony that you've submitted.
Thank you
Appreciate
very
it.
much.
Kristen?
I'm not sure if Kristen is back yet, but I will promote our next panelist. Our next panelist is Alfred Mendelsohn. Alfred, you are now a panelist.
Mr. Mendelsohn, you're muted and we can't see you yet.
Me now.
I can hear you now. We can't see you. If you want to help us see you.
Sure. Clicking the buttons. There we go.
Okay.
I blanked out for a moment.
You're good
Alfred
to go.
Mendelsohn, terrific. First of all, I know the Herculean task that you guys have been working under or working through. So you have my very sincere thanks. And as you've tried to understand the whole of the state of Maryland, I could tell you that it's as a former chairman of the Baltimore County Republican Party, I've been through the county by county all through, and I've got to tell you, you guys have done a terrific job. But there are two problems that I think need to be fixed. The first is the 6th legislative district, which is now the 6th legislative district. It really is a district of communities. They share newspapers, these county times. They share schools. They share the same trash problems, which are different. When you hear the word rats, you think a Baltimore County rat is just like a Baltimore City rat. Alas, it's not that way. The problems are different, and Baltimore County on that side of the county really needs to be kept together. Going to the other side of the county, I'm a fairly observant Jew, which means that I care about what's called an Erev. The Erev is if you don't know, it's a physical line that would be unobservable from most people. That's because it's really just a string hung over power lines. I don't know if you're familiar with this, but it makes it possible to walk and while carrying things on Saturday. Though this sounds like something from a comedy, it really isn't. We take it quite seriously. And there's even I'm going to call it a phone book of the observant Jews who live inside the Erev. You're breaking up the Erev area. It should, Baltimore County and Baltimore City and the Orthodox community, I'm not Orthodox. It's very important, and it makes sense. The issues are the same in the Jewish community on both sides of the line. So if you're going to fix the problems, that's when you squeeze a balloon on one side, it gets fatter on the other. You could fix those two problems all at once. Keep a cohesive line for in the Jewish community built around the Erev, and if you do that, then the problems of the 6th legislative district are fixed. Again, thank you for your help and for your time, and for the Herculean task that you've taken.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Mendelsohn.
Our next speaker is Daniel Johnson of Anne Arundel County, who will be speaking about map submission 1082.
Good evening. Are you able to hear me?
Yes, we can see you and we can hear you.
Thank you. Good evening. I'd like to first offer my thanks to the members of, to the members of the commission for all their hard work thus far. My particular concerns I'll speak to today relate to congressional redistricting, and I'd like the commission to consider a map I submitted, submission number 1082, or at least incorporate the concerns I will address. I would like to draw attention to the unique role the commission is playing, not just in drawing new districts for our state and federal representatives, but just as importantly, if not more importantly, in setting precedents and priorities that future redistricting efforts will follow. An important priority the commission should follow is to set a precedent which discourages future gerrymandering by making clear how the redistricting process should define community and prioritize community representation. In creating a precedent that favors communities, a redistricting commission in a state could leverage existing local municipalities, zip codes, or even high school feeder zones to create borders between districts. But in Maryland, we largely define community by county. For the vast majority of Marylanders, it is the county government which serves as the lowest level of governance and their first stop for services. In this regard, I think there needs to be a clear priority in maintaining, to the maximum extent possible, county cohesion within congressional districts. And the proposed map from the commission, there is a division of Calvert County, a county with less than 100,000 people, only 13% of what would fit in a congressional district. Likewise, there's a division of Anne Arundel County, which has under 600,000 people, again, less than the approximately 770,000 people in a single district. Map 1082, which I have submitted, keeps every county that is smaller than a district in size whole and represented by the same member of Congress. I respectfully request that the commission consider my submission, if not in its entirety, at least as an inspiration. All of the districts are less than 0.15% deviation from the average population required, but I understand if that level of deviation is not permissible. I will note, however, that since the 2020 census, our populations have changed. People have been born, people have passed away, and to prioritize exact equality over community cohesion is somewhat arbitrary. My second concern is that when a redistricting commission chooses to divide a community, such as a county, it should endeavor to do so in a way that seems as least arbitrary as possible. A close look at divisions created in Anne Arundel, Montgomery, Prince George's, and Baltimore counties on the commission's draft map finds the division between congressional constituencies ebbing and flowing up and down neighborhood blocks and side streets. Many of the roads used are extremely low density neighborhood roads that are more likely to be internal to communities rather than a natural dividing line between communities. In map 1082, I've made extensive efforts to favor major thoroughfares and waterways rather than community roads when drawing divisions. That may not always be feasible, but to the extent possible, I encourage the commission to look again if there are other existing borders, zip codes, school feeder zones, or other robust thoroughfares that can create separation between districts. Again, I want to thank you all for the draft map you presented. It is a phenomenal map. If nothing changes, it's way better than what we've had. Your efforts have been fantastic, and thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Johnson, for your testimony tonight. Kristen.
Our next speaker is Jay Girardin.
Mr. Girardin, you're muted.
Just one moment. Can you hear me?
Can hear you now. And we can see you.
Okay.
Hello.
Thank you. Good to see you all again. I was under the impression this is the last public meeting for the commission.
That's right. Well, it's the last one for public testimony.
I understand, corrected. Yeah. And I did see your statement saying that you had decided on the final map. So I wanted to comment on that. I thought I was hearing
proposed maps. These are proposed maps. We're still taking input.
Okay. Some of the Senate. Well, I thought at least the congressional was pretty much pinned down. Has that changed, or is that?
We're here to hear testimony tonight, and then we have a work session tomorrow at. We'll have one following this session. We have one tomorrow at 6, and then we have a final review on Wednesday, November 6th. That will be posted. So
Thank you, Co-Chair.
we're here to listen to you tonight.
Okay, thank you. Don't, the one I'm working on, I checked in it's an interactive map. Basically, it's the third congressional district is, which in summary is basically Howard County and the vast majority of Anne Arundel, and I think a little piece of Calvert County, but I've seen various other versions. Anyway, across that, which is beautiful, so much better than all of these districts are so much better than what we have. Okay, but my concern is the third district, like all of them, are 800,000 people or so. Okay, they're all in single member districts except for one in Howard County. That's Senate District 26. And it astonishes me why you've been there for 5 months, why you couldn't split up 26 into 3 districts of about 44,000. I think, if you're down to the Senate, you have the congressional map all done. You have 47 Senate districts, all of 44,000. I would say either you split them all into 3 districts of 44,000, or you don't split any of those Senate districts and you make them all across the state multi-member. That's the fairest way to go. I had heard discussion a number of times ago of some sort of density issue, and then there was some unintended result, and then maybe you tweak the density threshold, and then maybe got the right multi-member districts and whatever. But the right way to go is take all those 47 Senate districts and split them into 3, or make them all multi-member. But anyway, the District 27 stands out. There's no reason why people in Columbia, the 26th district is Columbia, Fulton, and Highland. There's no reason why they should be able, when they're looking for a sympathetic ear in the House of Delegates, they get to call 3 members. Whereas the other 85% of the people in the 3rd district, they will only be able to call 1 member in the delegates and hope that they get that one person is sympathetic to their cause. Simply split the 20th, or the 26th rather, in Columbia, Howard, Columbia, Fulton, and Fulton and Highland into 3 separate districts. That way, all the way across the 3rd district, 800,000 people, they're all in multi-member districts.
Thank you for your testimony.
Density has nothing to do with it.
Thank you for your testimony.
Thank you very much.
Mr. Girardi. Kristen, our next speaker, our 8th speaker is? Kristen, or maybe it's Maria who's going to introduce.
Sorry, I was muted. I'm sorry, I was muted. Our next speaker is Kathleen Smerling, and she has already been promoted to a panelist. Kathleen, you'll just need to unmute.
Yes, that would help. Sorry. Can you all hear me now?
We can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. Let me see if I can fix that really quick. Hopefully that works now. Sorry,
it works. We see you, we hear you.
Challenge tonight. Members of the Redistricting Commission, thank you for the opportunity to provide testimony. I reside in Perry Hall, Baltimore County, and my testimony tonight focuses on legislative redistricting. I grew up in Dundalk, and even though I live in Perry Hall, I still consider it home. And we all know the east side of our county has had many challenges over the years, and they're making great progress now. And I just lost some of my notes. Bear with me for a second. And so I believe that what happens when we're putting parts of Baltimore City into the east side of the county, running all the way up through Fort Howard and Dundalk and Essex, that the community of these communities are going to lose their sense of identity. They're going to be lumped in. They're not going to have fair representation. And that's the thing that concerns me the most, is what happens with these communities. they have unique challenges, as Delegates Long and Erickson and Senator Salling said. And I just respectfully ask the commission to please consider keeping the community together. And that's all I have.
All right. Thank you, Ms. Muro.
Thank you.
Kristen, our next speaker is?
Our next speaker is Larry Porter, who has been promoted to a panelist.
Good evening. Can you hear me?
I can hear you. We can't see you.
You'll be better off if you can't see me. I can. But so thank you very much for having my testimony recorded tonight. I'm again going to talk about Caroline County and the proposed legislative district. The proposal to split Caroline County into three legislative districts, will disenfranchise the citizens of Caroline County. For all intents and purposes, it will mean it will be virtually impossible for us to retain or elect a resident delegate who understands our unique concerns. The proposed map has basically been used as a bank to balance the accounts for our surrounding counties. Approximately 15,000 of our citizens have been shifted to Kent County. I believe that's District 45B, 8,000 to Talbot County, 46A, and 9,000 to Dorchester County, 46C. This will leave Caroline County a maze for our voters to try to decipher who the representative will be, not to mention the additional election costs estimated by our election director of more than $25,000. The proposed division is on a timeline where my understanding is that people would be filing for election and may not even know what district they're going to represent until after the filing deadline. Caroline County has a population of about 33,000 people. We should have our own legislative district to ensure that the citizens' voices are heard. And instead, this proposal would have us remain as Caroline County, where our taxes are collected and our voices are ignored. The population is a concern, and Caroline County has grown. But over the years, we have been stymied by policies such as smart growth and other policies that have restricted our growth, and others that have served to keep us at the population we are. I cannot emphasize enough how detrimental the proposed division of the county would be, and would ask very respectfully that you reconsider the delegation map as proposed, even if it means that it has to have an adverse effect on the rich and powerful people in the counties surrounding Caroline County. It's time we are treated fairly for a change, and I will rest there. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Mr. Porter. Our next speaker.
Our next speaker is Margaret Devone.
Ms. DeVoe, you're muted.
Hello, are you able to hear me?
Yes, and see you, yes.
Okay, great. Thank you for providing this opportunity for citizens like myself to testify in terms of the maps. My name is Margaret Devone, and I live in Silver Spring, Maryland, specifically the Fairlane area. It is currently in Congressional 3 and Legislative District 14. I am active in the community through various organizations and my church. Below are some of the things I would like to see regarding the maps and redistricting process. And yes, they're on the right page. Thank you so much. Please continue with multi-member district representation, especially for my districts. During some of the earlier rounds, there were individuals who had disabilities who advocated for this as well. It ensures various issues like transportation, budgets, disparities caused by the COVID pandemic, et cetera, can be addressed without overtaxing one representative and a chance to have the concerns of the community met. Please return to the previous way the maps were numbered last year. I understand the goal was to have consistency with the state legislative district map. However, changing the numbering order will create confusion among the citizens. So with regards to this map, I noticed Burtonsville is cut off from the rest of the East County area as part of the new District 4. Not sure why this was the case, as it is considered East County. It is the only part of the east side that is using the county line to draw the district line. I do have concerns that the way the districts are being drawn without consideration for political party and or communities of interest will instead introduce racial gerrymandering. I show a comparison in my written testimony to show how your current maps, congressional districts, match to racial groups by census tracts. The Fairlane area is the East County part of Montgomery County. My community is very diverse. Other languages spoken in addition to English are Spanish, Korean, Amharic, and French. Additionally, the East County Community Center offers liaisons to the community through Office of Community Partnerships, resulting in liaisons for African American, immigrant, and the African and Caribbean communities. I mention this because there was an attempt by the commission to focus on the Latinx and Asian populations, and understandably so. However, no research was done to explore those who are part of the African diaspora. Like other cultures, we are not monolithic. For instance, I am first generation American on my mother's side. My mother is from Barbados and her mother was Guyanese. While I myself identify as African American, my mother, a proud American, still identifies herself as West Indian on census forms. There were comments about the Black community districts being sacrificed in order for there to be a Latinx district. The result was District 4. Neither group should be sacrificed. They have more in common. If trade-offs must be considered, then something in the mapping process went awry. I have additional comments in my written testimony about ranked choice voting and a request to have Professor Pasili's jobs that he did for other commissions made available to the public as well for transparency purposes. Thank you for your time and consideration.
Thank you, Ms. DeVoe, for your testimony tonight. Kristen, speaker number 11.
Is Delegate Rick Metzger, who has been promoted to a panelist.
Delegate Metzger, you are muted.
And there I am.
There you are.
How are you doing?
Good, thanks.
Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. I want to say my name is Rick Metzger, and I live in Baltimore County, and I want to thank you for the opportunity to speak tonight. And I would like to thank the commissioners for their hard work with these proposed maps, and what a task it is. This is not an easy job, and I, as a delegate, thank you for that. I shouldn't have said that. But under the current plan, I need to stress the fact that Essex would be placed in Harford County District, and Dundalk would be placed in Baltimore City District. These two communities have nothing in common with their proposed legislative districts. And it is my understanding, ladies and gentlemen, that the commission is supposed to consider the geographical boundaries, such as the bodies of water and contiguous land, like the communities when drawing these maps. Under this proposal, Eastern Baltimore County will be divided, and they do not share the same similarities as Harford County and Baltimore City. Dividing our communities is an injustice to these communities and will hurt these communities desperately. I respectfully request that the commission please reconsider these proposed maps and keep our communities that we're working very hard to keep interests together. Thank you for your time and your consideration. And because of the time, I'm not going to add more detail. Thank you.
Thank you, Delegate Metzger.
Our next speaker is Tyru Vignaraha. Maria, if you could please promote.
Yes, I can. Alrighty. He just jumped off for whatever reason.
Okay, that's why I can't find him. Okay. Then our next speaker will be Delegate Robin Grammer. Maria, if you could please promote Delegate Grammer.
I can. Delegate Grammer, you should now be a panelist.
All right, can everybody hear me okay?
Yes, Delegate Grammer. Good evening.
Good evening. Good to see everybody. Members of the commission, my name is Robin Grammer. I live in Essex. That's in Baltimore County. Full disclosure, I am one of the state lawmakers for Southeastern Baltimore County. I appreciate your patience. I have two very silly children who are going to be testifying with me tonight. Members of the commission, like Bernie Sanders, I am once again here to ask for your support. And specifically, I am hoping for a hero that will make the motion to reunite the peninsulas of Greater Dundalk and Greater Essex. I'd like to make an appeal to your sense of community, and I'd like to talk about a particular issue that I've talked about previously, and even Senator Salling has mentioned. That's the issue with midges, and I'd like to talk about it as it relates, Robin, as it relates to the communities of our district. So we have a problem with tiny bugs called midges they grow due to the effluents that are released into Back River via the sewage treatment plant. This has been happening for decades. And this previous spring, it was the worst that it has been in 20 years. I heard that from everybody who lived within a mile proximity to Back River. And, what happened in retrospect, we found when the news broke the article, a nonprofit had triggered an investigation into the sewage treatment plant, and it was found that human waste, effluents against in a violation of the state law were flowing into Back River, and we had millions of these midges that were really a complete nuisance to every community on the Greater Essex and Dundalk Peninsula. When we reached out, when we engaged people, the people that responded were from Essex and Dundalk, and the people that engaged us were completely from Essex and Dundalk. And I don't know if you know the background of our infrastructure and water problems, but this certainly is not a problem that is exclusive to Baltimore County or our district. We want to have everybody engaged, but the people that were engaged were Essex and Dundalk. So issues like this is not the only issue that this is the case, but it certainly paints a picture of that. So again, I'd like to appeal to your sense of community. We are hoping for a hero that will make the motion to reunite our communities. I know this process is hard, but dividing Essex and Dundalk will dilute a voice that has been together on paper for 2 decades, but has always spoken together for much longer than that. And with that, I appreciate your patience, and I'd ask you to please help us reunite our communities. Thank you.
All right. Thank you, Delegate Greiner, and goodbye to you and your children.
Cricket. Our next speaker is Fino Sia.
Here. Good evening, everyone.
Good evening.
Can you hear me? Can you see me?
Yes, both. Thank you.
Yes, hi. Thank you all
Hi.
for having me once more. I was here last week and I didn't have my camera on, so tonight I have it. I'm calling from Prince George's County, District 3. I am a candidate. And I want to thank each and every one of you for ensuring that we have a fair redistricting process. I humbly bow to each and every one of you. I know how hard this is, but I'm here to plead for your help. I'm sorry. I'm sorry. I am here to plead for your help. Despite everything that is going on with our America, my America, America is still presumed the land of the free, the land where you are free to become whomever you want to be, the land of the brave, the land where you are encouraged to work and reap what you sow. It is simply the land where dreams, passion, and talent are rewarded, a land of opportunity, unparalleled opportunities. It is simply a land where imagination, especially ideas that seem impossible or improbable, can become a reality. As an immigrant and so many other immigrants, these are the values my parent, our parent, brought us to America for. And when these values are threatened, it becomes personal to me. I am here for you guys to consider. My district have been torn up into jigsaw puzzle because they want to throw me out of the race. And I would like for the final map of our district to represent our diverse community. District 3 is so diverse and it's heavily African and Caribbean community. It needs to reflect the will of the people and afford everyone equal and fair representation. They should not be redrawn to predict election outcome. a redistricting process that requires the use of past election results lies the foundation of bipartisan gerrymandering that manipulation of district lines to favor a particular group. And I'm here in America because I believe in America. I'm running for office because I believe in America. Thank you so much for having this time and listening to me. Thank you. God bless you all.
Thank you, Ms. Sia, for your testimony.
Our next speaker is Alexander Pappas.
Mr. Pappas, you'll have to unmute.
Can we hear me now?
We can hear you. We can't
Great.
see you.
You're not going to see me because I do not have my my camera hooked up to my computer. So please bear with this testimony. I first want to share with you, my name is Alexander Pappas. I'm a licensed engineer and a graduate of Johns Hopkins in multimodality imaging, radiologic imaging. I'm a lifelong resident of Southeast Baltimore County. I currently serve as the Fort Howard Community Association president. I also serve as the corresponding secretary and treasurer of the 7th District Civic Council, Baltimore County. And I also sit on an advisory committee for dredge management for the Port of Baltimore. And I'm also a member of the Millers Island Edgemere Business Association. And I previously served on the Baltimore County Historic Trust as our treasurer and board member, and as the vice president and president of North Point Peninsula Council. I just want to reiterate that the elected officials that you heard this evening are delegates from the 6th legislative district and our senator. And of course, our leadership from the Republican Party, Mr. Mendelsohn and Ms. Shapiro, clearly have articulated the position of the groups that I have enumerated previously here, who I represent this evening. And I wish that your commission would heed their dare I say, their begging. They're begging for you not to dismember our southeastern communities. And I too beg you, please do not destroy our communities. Thank you very much, and I wish you all the best.
Thank you for your testimony, Mr. Pappas.
And that concludes our speakers this evening.
All right, so we actually had 14 then, I have a count.
Yep, we had multiple individuals who signed up who were not present at the meeting and have not yet joined.
All right, great, thank you. So at this point now, we're going to go in, somebody's on the chat.
Looks like Stephanie Williams.
Right.
Okay, she was labeled as Galaxy Note. That's why we didn't know she was here.
Okay.
Oh, okay.
Gotcha. Okay, Stephanie, I'm going to promote you to a panelist. Sorry, your name is incorrect on the attendee list, so we were not able to see that you were present for the meeting.
All right, Miss Williams. She's, well, you know, I don't think she has to worry about her name now, right? She just needs to
right. Now it's just,
yeah.
I just changed it for her anyway, just in case.
Oh, okay. Thanks, Maria.
Okay.
No problem.
There she is.
All right. Now you just have to unmute, Miss Williams.
Hello?
Okay, now we can hear you. We can't see you, but we can hear you.
Okay. My name is Stephanie Williams, and I am from Fort Howard. I am in the 7th District, and I really don't see why you would separate Baltimore County and to Baltimore City and Howard counties. We live totally different lives, and I think that if you're gonna make a change, make the rest of Dundalk part of Baltimore County so that all our communities can be together. I mean, we have different issues and we have different styles of living, and I really don't see the taxes will go up. I mean, everybody it would affect everybody. Baltimore County has lower taxes than Baltimore City. Water's higher in the city than it is in the county. Car insurance is extremely higher in the city. I mean,
Miss Williams, you're frozen right now. I can't hear you. Miss Williams, do you have anything more to add?
no, thank you.
All right. Thank you for your testimony tonight. So Kristen, seeing what we just saw with a different name, here it looks like somebody else. Jackie Steele McCall. She may not have her name underneath, listed correctly. Is she somebody that we can promote?
I do not. Oh, wait, hold on.
Jackie Steele McCall.
I found her.
All right, we're going to promote you, Miss Steele McCall, shortly.
She's been promoted.
All right, Ms. Steele McCall, if you just unmute, you can begin your testimony.
Okay, hello. Good evening. My name is Jacqueline Steele McCall. I live in Prince George's County. I've lived in Maryland for 40 plus years. I've been watching the work of the Redistricting Commission, and I want to say that I'm very pleased with the work of the commission, gathering information and input from the citizen despite many obstacles, including COVID. I just wanted to say that you should be commended, and that's my testimony.
Well, thank you for that, Ms. Steele McCall. We appreciate hearing that. That's, I think, the first time we had someone do that. So it's nice to have it on our last night. Thank you.
I know she's from Prince George's County.
All right, Judge Williams, I hear you. Okay.
All right. So unless that should be it for our speakers for this evening.
All right. Should we just double check the chat before we, because this is truly it.
I'm going through the chat and I'm not seeing anything else. And went through our list again of the registrations and I'm not seeing the remaining people in our attendee list.
All right. All right. Thank you so much.
I will add for those on the call who, whether you spoke or not, that you can still submit written testimony to the email, which is redistricting.commission@maryland.gov. All
right. Until when, Kristen? When's the last time to do
the final working meeting is technically tomorrow. So if it is something that you want the commission to be able to consider prior to making presumably their final vote on districts or district boundaries, it should be tomorrow before 4 o'clock.
All right. The earlier the better too, folks, because many folks who are on the panel are working. So if they can try and grab this during the day when they're, they can get a break. It's, a little challenging.
And certainly that email will stay open. I'm sorry, that email will stay open and people can still continue to email us through next week. It's just that any of those comments wouldn't be able to be considered prior to final votes on maps.
All right. Okay. So I'd like to thank everyone who testified this evening, and of course the few hundred that have recently submitted written testimony. The members of the commission have taken the time to read that, and we're at the point now where we are moving into our working session. And so I think where we'd like to begin is, at least in my view, there's a lot to discuss, but I think what we've heard from and we've been talking about this, that we need to review this, is what's happening with Baltimore City and then the Southeast Baltimore County. So, Professor Priscilli, yes.
Can I get Kristen back on, because I think it's going to affect what is feasible here, and that is it your view that tomorrow night the maps must be approved, because what we're talking about here is a completely different map that will affect 1/3 of the state or so. And so it would be a problem, I think, if we end up drawing a map at the last minute that then there's no public input for. And so what exactly are the dates that we have to get everything done by?
Next Wednesday, the 3rd.
So tomorrow, so can the vote happen then?
So yeah, and certainly what is feasible is that you all could have your working meeting tomorrow. At the end of that meeting, if there are maps that you are certain about, you can go ahead and vote on them. If there is still some tweaking to be done, but you all decide what that tweaking and modification is, and you have exact instructions for the professor, then he could then take those, email them back to everyone. You would all be able to view them prior to the meeting on November 3rd. And then at the start of that meeting, you could vote upon to do a final vote. But you do need to have a vote on your congressional, Senate, and legislative maps. A final vote would have to come. Obviously, that would be best for tomorrow, but knowing that there is still much work to be done, if we had to push that vote off, we certainly could. Another option is that we could start the meeting a little earlier for that public vote. We're still in a window where we could modify the start time of that meeting in the event that so that we could publicize it and change the time on the agenda. So those are options.
If I'm reading Professor Salling correctly, what he seems to be saying, and I'm listening to it, is that anytime there's an action, there's a reaction. And what will happen is that if you change the bulge from Baltimore County and put it somewhere else, then the people who are then affected would not have had an opportunity to express their concerns or react to the new situation. Right now, people in other areas of Baltimore County who may be affected, they may be satisfied right now as to what's happening, and they haven't expressed any need to testify. But again, if we change some things, I'm just wondering whether we should give people an opportunity to finally make some comments on the new changes. As I'm reading the professor, I may be wrong.
Yeah, no, that's exactly right. Well, part of it, it's not just that, but it's also you all. I mean, because I'm putting the cart before the horse here on the assumption that you want to make these changes, some of these changes. Maybe the commission will decide not to, but I wanted to see in the event. I wanted to figure out the schedule just to make sure that if you do make the changes, that you can actually get it done in time. I mean, this is not the optimal way to do this, obviously, and so. I will do whatever the commission wants, but I want to make sure that the commission is involved in the maps. This is not me just doing it, and then also that the public is. And so how you go about it. So that's why I was wondering in November where does the November 3rd due date come from, and can that be extended? And if not, then I guess we'll just work with. I mean, I think we can get it done by then. But I do worry about, because what's going to happen, as Judge Williams said, is the equal and opposite reaction. And some of it is not going to be as passionate as what we've heard tonight, but some of it is like dealing with the community issue in Lock Hill and, Towson and those kinds of things. That as we're moving large swaths of the population, that they're going to be little sort of judgment calls that are just not, there's no principle about why a line might have been drawn one way or another, but then an interest group is going to be offended by it. So I just wanted to see what our timeline really is as to what is feasible between now and the final vote.
Well, I understand, Kristen, our deadline is next Wednesday, because whatever is decided, it's going to be put in legislative language so that can be submitted, and that takes time. Is that right?
It does. So we have legislation to write. And so that is something that we've taken into consideration with that date. Again, you could put another meeting on the schedule But again, you can be having a conversation tomorrow night, discuss these matters. We can put draft proposed maps on the website, and people can still provide written testimony with regard to those maps. We can have that testimony coming to the commission. But as far as kind of finishing what it is that the task you set upon to do, that November 3rd date is kind of where we are. Again, if you need to adjust things and reconsider things, we can certainly use part of that meeting on November 3rd to finalize things.
Okay, my sense is that we stick with the agenda that we originally had proposed rather than adding more and trying to get done what we need to get done. And I think we've had, we still have an opportunity for the public to submit written testimony, and we're reading it all the time. So it certainly will come into play. It's not as though public testimony is the only thing we look at. We look at the written testimony, we look at the map submissions. So there'll still be time for people to give input. The issue that I think is most prominent right now is the one related to Southeast Baltimore County, and the one that we have had quite a number of testimony, received a lot of testimony about that, both tonight and also in writing. It did come up last week. You may recall, we talked about it last week, and we talked about that option of going up to the northwest section and maybe, as one of the speakers tonight said, like a balloon, take it from one place and put it in another. And it wasn't as easily done. I wish it was could be as easily done, but it can't be. But it sounds like from what I'm hearing from the commissioners that we're willing to take another look at this in the same fashion we did when we heard loud and clear from the folks in St. Mary's County, how they wanted to remain whole. So if people are in agreement that we want to look at some options besides the one that's currently there with in Southwest Baltimore County and connecting it, we really need to be vocal about that now if we want to proceed, because that means that that's a marked change in what we've had already. So Cheryl, I see your hand raised.
Yes, I do want to proceed. I know it came up last week and we looked at it. We can't ignore over 100 people, writing in testimony indicating that it's a concern for the community, how the community is combined, how they work together, how is a culture established there, and they work together on many social issues and environmental concerns, educational issues, and things of that nature they've shared. So I think that we have to, I feel personally that's not really an option not to look further. And in previous written testimony, there also has been information about looking at some of the Northwestern district where he talked about where the Jewish community resides primarily in Northwestern Baltimore County. And that is something that would help resolve more than one concern at the same time. So I do think it's something that should be investigated, and we should take a look at and see how that would pan out.
All right, thanks, Cheryl. Anyone else?
I agree with Cheryl that we need to take a look at it, but I want to know from Professor Priscilli, what is the likelihood of this balloon spilling over into the other counties?
I think I can contain it in Baltimore County and Hartford. We need to talk about Hartford actually, because you heard, let me tell you, I'll show you on the map how many things I'm thinking about when I'm helping out here. And there are a lot of variables at play. This, if you remember, the first Senate map that I drew and I sent Senate around did have the intrusion in Northwest Baltimore. And I think that these community of interest concerns are real ones, and they came up 20 years ago in the court case. I will note that the current districts do split that community, right? So it's not as if the commission's map did that. But I think we will have to change almost every district in Baltimore County and Baltimore City, and probably almost every district in Hartford. I don't think I need to go into Anne Arundel, because you can stop the changes up in what is currently District 15. The only reason that there may be that it would have to go into Anne Arundel is if there was some I don't see why we would need to do that. So I think that we would have to change the Hartford districts, because notice that the arguments that they're making would reallocate what are the current assembly districts into different Senate districts. And so then we have to consider the possibility of having the intrusion from Hartford into Baltimore County up north as opposed to down south, because if Essex, Dundalk, and Edgemere are put together in a Senate district and broken up into individual delegate districts, then that's 1/3 of what is currently contemplated as Senate District 43. And so we need to figure out whether the intrusion is still going to come in southern Baltimore County, or whether you do it like the way it currently is, which is farther north. I would like to, I don't know whether now is the time, but I would like to just go over the map with you and get a little direction as to where things would be pushed and pulled. But I want to make sure that you all are of the same mind here as to what we should do.
Thank you for mentioning that, Professor, because I think we need to hear from everyone, because this is a big change, and it's going to affect a lot of other areas, and I'm sure we'll hear from other people. So Jonathan, you were about to comment right when Mary did. So what were you about to say?
Cheryl and Mary pretty much hit it on the head. It's too much to ignore, all the feedback we've received. And we have to explore it, in my opinion.
And I'm going to just call on you, William. What are your thoughts?
Give them what they want. I mean, there's too many people have took their time out to write or call in, and unfortunately for me, I don't have anything from the people who live in the Northwest Baltimore City to stand on and say that they don't want the intrusion to happen on their end. So if the residents of Southeast Baltimore County took time out their day to write or call in to advocate on their neighborhood, and another part of the city didn't, how can I get in the way of it? Like, who am I to go against what they say? But that's what they want. That's what they want.
Thank you, William. Kim, your thoughts?
I actually feel a little neutral on it. We've come a really long way, and I think we have a really good map, but I do see the aspect that maybe we should look into it. So right now I'm feeling neutral about that.
All right, thank you. Jay?
Yeah, thanks, Kate. I think it makes sense to certainly review the impacts of these potential changes and kind of hammer them out tonight if we can, and see where Dr. Priscilla can then take the maps and make the appropriate adjustments and see how it shakes out.
All right. Judge Williams, I believe you're in concurrence.
I certainly agree with Cheryl that we have to take a look at it and see how it alters the other districts, and see how much of a change we want to make and what have you. The only question I had, Professor brought it up, did he say that those communities are presently not united now?
No, I think the one in the Northwest.
The Northwest. So the Jewish community is split right
I
now.
see.
And so, no, I wasn't talking about the Southeast.
I got you. All right, thank you.
And Walter?
I agree with what's been said by Commissioner Brooks and by Commissioner Clausen and others. These are not simply one form letter received 300 times. These are people running in many ways from many backgrounds in their own words. I think this is the model of the kind of public response that we need to take seriously and respond to.
All right. Well, I think that's everyone, Professor. And we are the Maryland Citizens Redistricting Commission. And our task is to listen to the public, and the public has spoken. So what are you suggesting?
All right. So now let me try to show you what we're talking about here.
And Professor, as you pull up your screen there, just from a timing perspective here, you have a pretty busy day tomorrow. So I'm thinking that is it unlikely that you would have these maps pulled together by tomorrow night's working meeting, or would you be working on them?
I will work all night on these and get them to you so that you have them for tomorrow. But that's why I want to go through. I want to make sure. Here's what I expect to happen. There are two things that I want to avoid. One thing I desperately want to avoid is the commission running away from the map and saying that the expert made these calls. And so I want to make sure everybody is locked arms on these changes. The second thing is that I want to get some direction from you tonight as to the sort of pressure points on how to resolve them. And knowing that I'm going to have to make some judgment calls as I go through it. But I will get this to you by the time you all wake up in the morning. And then we'll go from there. And then I expect that tomorrow we will make some adjustments. It would be great if we had some feedback from the public even before tomorrow, but I don't think we won't have enough time there. But I want to show you what I'm thinking about, and no doubt there are going to be some changes I'll have to make on the fly. But the more direction I get from you, the better, I think, here.
And we could have whatever maps you pull together. We can have those maps posted by 9 a.m. So whenever you get them to us, we will get them posted under the meeting for tomorrow night. Members of the commission, would you like me in advance to put them in a final proposed maps section, or do you just want to include them in for tomorrow night's meeting?
So what's the difference?
So the final proposed maps is it just means that someone goes to the homepage, they see final proposed maps. We could put it right there as as the maps that you are considering and that you have proposed to talk about.
I think people want to see it, so if they can see it when we can see it, I don't see any problem. The sooner we hear
Actually,
from
we
them,
wouldn't put it, I'm sorry, not under final proposed, we would put it under draft map. So we would put it under the draft map section, and we could also put it under the meeting section for tomorrow night's meeting.
That's helpful. So someone who wants to see this, they could just go onto that link and it will be there. Yeah. Okay.
Correct. And so
unless anyone has an objection, I mean, we've been showing everything else. I don't know why we wouldn't show this.
And then we also can leave the email open longer if need be as well.
Sure.
I had another question actually for Cheryl. Last week when we met, you mentioned also revisiting some of the single member versus multi-member districts in Baltimore County. Is that something else that you're interested in happening right now, or is it mainly just the
at this
Dundalk,
point,
Essex?
At this point, the Dundalk and Essex and the redesign is a priority, because as a result, once we look at where the district goes, I was concerned more so about that 15 area as well. And exactly where, is it 16A where intrusion is going to be? Is it 15? Is all that redrawn differently? It's right in that area that I had a primary concern about. So I think that this precedes the other.
Well, but also that let's solve that problem as well. So I think that because both of those are related, because if we're going to make the intrusion from Northwest Baltimore, let's do it in the way that you all think is correct, because that's going to be the compensation here. I mean, and apropos Commissioner Clausen's question before, right? I believe that I will not have to mess with this border here, and that all the changes will basically happen here. And I do think that we have to change the Harford County districts, but I have some ideas on how we could do that.
And the Harford County are already single member districts, that's correct?
Yes, that's right. Right. But
So
see, here's
A,
the
the
issue. If you
Baltimore
notice
ones-
the Senate district though, right? So 43A, B, and C goes this way. They want Essex with Dundalk and Edge, right? So we chop this off. We got to find another place to go. Now, in theory, you could just swap it out with one of these, but I actually think it probably makes sense with the current districts that say 43A goes up to the border here, and that we go around. But let's talk about that as to what you might want. So, Dr. Hetherington, should I jump in or? Okay.
Yes, I think it's appropriate time for you to proceed.
Okay,
Professor.
all right. So let's just be clear what we're talking about here. So these areas, this 1.5 districts inside Baltimore City will now be absorbed by districts 23 and 24, and everything will start shifting down. What makes this complicated is that there are voting rights issues, right? In just so we're clear about the composition of the different populations, right? So this is the African American population in Baltimore, right? And so this area was taken out. These districts will come down. The intrusion then will come up here, taking in a lot of Northwest Baltimore, joining it with 16A, and that's what Commissioner Brooks was talking about. So I want to make sure we get the ARUV and that we get the right communities here. And I want some, you all have sent me some guidance, but I wouldn't be surprised if by tomorrow you say, well, no, we should cut it just a little bit differently. There is in thinking about a Jewish community of interest, they were going to go all the way to Owings Mills, right? And you can see what the implications are of that for potential VRA issues. So I just want you to keep that in mind. All right, so what we'll do is the intrusion will come up, that we'll chop this, the 20 C and B will then be absorbed into 23 and 4, 22, 21 are going to come down, but there's a real risk of extreme packing of the African-American community because you're basically pushing these down this way. So these districts will come in and it'll be a little bit more like a pizza pie here with one slice taken out of the top. Then we'll build these districts, right? So 20 A, B, and C, 43C will now be probably 20C, right? And will be joined with Edgemere. And then this like half district that's right here will probably go right above it, right? Oh, well, actually, this is where I want to get some guidance. We can put it here, right? So it's basically 1, 2, and 3, right, along this border here, or along the water. Or we could take that and squeeze it in here, rotating everything up. The reason that this is complicated, right, is because this is what affects everything in Harford County. The thing that I've begun to appreciate is that you have to simultaneously think of the delegate districts and the Senate districts at the same time, and that's kind of hard. And so this is hard because of the deviations, right? Because we've been keeping a very strict 2% deviation on the Senate districts, but allowing a 3% deviation on the delegate districts. And so I'm going to try. What I will probably do is, just to make sure I don't make an error, I will probably try to keep these districts as close to 2% as possible, even in the delegate districts, which will require breaking up communities, breaking up. The voting districts are going to be, the precincts are going to be broken up. But so basically what I see is we'll push these districts out. And so what is 20 C, B, and A gets pushed basically in this direction. Then these districts get pushed up and around here as well. So Aberdeen and Havre get put into 43. And then the problem is, you can see 44A 44A, right, is a Senate district that goes here all the way from Cecil right to the Baltimore border. And so we'll have to redraw those districts probably by redrawing what's happening in here. Once we make those changes though, so when this comes down into here and will come over in this direction, 15 will probably go up and around a little bit while trying to keep it. Remember, 15 right now is a 52.72% non-Hispanic Black district, probably ends up being a little more on the voting age population. And so trying to keep that around that percent is going to be challenging. And then 16B will come down a bit. 16C, I think we can sort of, if we do the what I'm talking about with Hartford, we might be able to sort of do it around this way as opposed to working through in the interior here. But I still think once we make the shifts, that these districts are going to have to push up, right? And 19 will push out a little bit. And so like I'm wondering like what's the right border at the top here for this this new district of southeastern Baltimore? Should it be Middle River? How should we do that? And then you know these will still all be well. And then you do have to consider whether any of these single member districts are going to change your criteria as to whether they're going to be too dense and be multi-member. But I'm going to just assume. I mean, I sort of feel we can't. The time is up on that discussion. I mean, if we're going to make these massive changes, that we got to just assume that everything is a single. It's kind of everything's going to be a single member district, unless it's a multi-member district currently under the map. And so that's what I see the changes. It's going to be this kind of sweep over this way and potentially up and around. We need to decide. I mean, if we're going to have a district that goes over here. And then I'll rotate the districts in here as well. I think that 18B will come up, and then 16A comes down. 16A probably if 16A, if the Jewish community is basically here and down into here, right? That's going to be a pretty long district, and so I will probably essentially, if you replace this part with this part here and then move this over. Anyway, it's a lot of movement, as you can see. Just trying to plan it on the fly. So
when you're making your shifts in Baltimore City, are there any significant changes in the racial makeup?
Yes, extreme changes. I will make sure that they're still all majority Black districts, but they're going to be sliced. Some of them will be sliced pretty thinly. I say when I say I'll make sure, that's just because you can do it, right? It's not like a intentional creation here. They're compact districts, but basically it sort of depends on how big the intrusion is into Baltimore City, as to what I mean, this is when I was showing you the population, right? So the way we did the intrusion here, it still allows for these districts to be majority minority. Now that this population will be back into the city districts, these districts will probably be more kind of vertical, right? And if once you go into Northwest Baltimore here, we have to figure out, like, if this district goes down, it ends up being like an 85% Black district, and so that would be a Voting Rights Act problem. And so, you know, that's why I said it's going to be sort of pizza slices. Everything's going to be coming right down to the harbor from every direction.
Yeah, 85 is just too heavy. That's packing.
That's right. That's right. And so so the shape of them will be, you know, more slices. I mean, I might be exaggerating. Maybe it'd be 75. But it's still the point is right now, these multi-member districts, 23, 22, 21, 24, are all, you know, majority African-American. And they will continue to be, but it just requires some fancy footwork. And on the Senate map that I presented earlier and then I emailed you earlier today, they are, you know, it can be done. I just want to make sure that we're doing it in the right way, that it actually is, you know, doing it right.
Can we take a couple of minutes to talk more about Harford County? Because I know I offered some advice that was taken back then, and we are, and I'd like to just kind of go back over the reasoning that led to this proposal. If you could go back up a little further northeast to the Cecil crossover. And all the way up to the Pennsylvania border. Yeah, that's great. There's going to have to be, because of population, a District 44 that is going all the way over from the northeastern corner of the state into Harford County. Now, I argued for letting that 44 include Haverford and Aberdeen, partly because if you didn't do that, it needs to take that amount of population, and it's already got the Northern Agricultural Strip. It's going to have to go down and take part of the Bel Air metropolitan area. Yeah, I thought one of the virtues of this was that through 42, Bel Air finally got it, with Falston a district of its own. But there was a second reason also, to be careful on this and to be wary of some of the maps that people have been sending us that slice Harford very vertically, which is that there is, as I understand it, something of a minority opportunity district in the areas in the southern part of the county, which is impaired a little bit if it loses Aberdeen and Hoptacross, but is restored if it can use the Baltimore County crossing to remain something of a minority opportunity district. And the Middle River and White Marsh area, which I believe you had said was a possible way to extend it that didn't take Essex, would preserve the possibility of better unity for minority interests, given that Cecil's district might be taking the northeastern part. That was the logic. And if you reunite Haverford and Aberdeen with the other areas, I mean, fine, but then you're going to get a very, very spread out 44. I just, maybe that's the only solution, but I just want to point out that a couple of factors are being lost. That we heard testimony this evening that the people in northern Harford County, a very agricultural area, would rather be with northern Baltimore County. Maybe that's so, but we are throwing them in with all the way over to, I guess it's the Delaware line, under all of these plans.
Well, yeah, I mean, part of this again is to think about the Senate district. So look, you can trade 18C with 43C. And if you wanted 43A, 43B, and then 18C becomes essentially 43C, right? That you can do that actually without mess, and then all the changes could happen inside here. I heard some testimony tonight though that they didn't feel like. First of all, there's a question as to what this community of interest that they're talking about. Does it end at Essex, or does it go down to these areas like Bully's Quarters and the basically to the Baltimore County line? Look, if we just trade, from a minority standpoint, there's not enough, at least in the way this is currently constructed, to make this an opportunity district, but we could do some stuff with Middle River. But again, then this means that District 19, which is, let me just see, which is, basically half and half, it's 52% white, then that will decline, right? And so we need to, it's just going to be a trade-off there. But what do you, if you think 18C here should be joined with 43A and 43B or something like it, then that is okay. I heard testimony tonight that it seemed like they just didn't like that the outskirts of Aberdeen went all the way into basically Essex, right? 43A, B, and C, which was the Senate district.
Well, clearly Essex didn't want that. And other commissioners should comment. I mean, that one, one thing in the back of my mind is that even if it's not perfect, it would avoid blowing up a whole bunch of additional districts that mostly were not, like 44B and the 342 districts that we have not heard very much testimony against. And possibly northern Baltimore County as well. If we can at least not blow up some parts of the map, we make it less likely that someone is going to step forward saying, we were satisfied with the first map you proposed. Why'd you blow it up and separate my town or whatever? Again, other views welcome, because other people may know these parts of the state much better than I do.
Mary, you'd like to say something?
Well, my concern is actually Baltimore City, which I think has 4 solid districts that are all compliant with the VRA and are not issues, and we're not hearing vehement concerns about what we've done with Baltimore City, which is an important, the urban center of the state. I'm concerned about what's going to happen to Baltimore City being worse than what's going on in eastern Baltimore County. That's, I want to look at the whole region, but I realize that we haven't heard complaints from a lot of the rest of Baltimore County the way things are. We've heard it from basically 3 legislative districts, or 1 senatorial district. And when I look at how much things really are working for the rest of Baltimore City and a lot of the county, I don't know, I think there's a risk in breaking more things than we might be fixing. I personally feel very badly that Caroline County has been carved up 3 ways. I mean, for a tiny county to be carved up 3 ways, and we're not even going to have time or interest to address that concern, but that one bothers me too. Okay, so are you going to start with Senate districts first, do you think, Nate?
No, we have to get the delegate district. In fact, I'm not going to do anything with the Senate districts. I'm going to just do the Senate map now that's out there should really be pulled down, because even now that Senate plan is replaced by these delegate districts. We got to get the delegate districts locked, and then it'll be clear what the Senate districts are based off of that. And then, and just so I avoid any problems, I want to make sure that I build the Senate map off of the delegate districts so that they're absolutely coterminous in their boundaries. By the way, I did look at the Caroline County thing, and it's the same problem as we discussed last time, which is that you just have to make the decision, if you're going to go up with this district into Talbot County, right? And then that would eliminate this split over here. But then you split out, then you split one other county, right? And so and remember, all of this happened because of the fact that we didn't want to just have water contiguity up here. All right, but I mean, I look, I think I've got my marching orders here. Let's look at the Senate map that I had given you a while ago to see whether things have changed so much since then that I'm a little hesitant to show you this, but if there are red flags that you all see, please tell me. And so this is the way it will probably look. You see the, although I may, the intrusion might change a little bit. So this is basically a compliant map. And if you want to see the racial percentages in 21, 2, 3, and 4, sorry. So 21, if you just look over here, up here, 21 is 67%. So that was what I was saying before, Judge, about this district. So, if it goes down like it does here, you can at least knock it down to 67.9% non-Hispanic Black. It's probably close to 70% Black voting age population, if I'm not mistaken. And then the others, 58, you can see, but these ones, 23 and 24, right, they're just above 50% there. I mean, I think that they're, you know, they're going to perform. They're they'll be okay, but it's different than the current map. And then 16, this is sort of would be essentially a multi-member district in the way it's drawn right now. And so I have to think about the single member size, you know, component of it. And if we do a single member district there, if it's a single member district inside Baltimore City, where it may be more than, it'll be just like what we had before, where we had one single member district in here and then one crossover district. And so it'll, how to do that is complicated, because you don't, as I understand it, we're going to have the Jewish community in a delegate district. You're going to have one district here that is fully within Baltimore City, and then one that crosses over to kind of get that community of interest, right? And so that'll go up into Pikesville and these other areas up here.
What's the racial makeup of 16 on this map?
It's heavily white. Well, actually, let me say it's a little bit. It's probably in the.
It's heavily white.
Yeah, it's 60% white, and so it's 26% black.
So where in Baltimore County is the opportunity for minority Senate districts?
Oh no, they still 15 and 17 are going
still
to
15,
be
17.
Yeah, those I'll keep those. The problem is how you define the community of interest here. You know, whether the Jewish community in Owings Mills is going to be joined in with Baltimore City. I mean, my view is we'll definitely try to get the Eruv in that was mentioned in the testimony today and in some of the submissions. How far up we go in here, that then has voting rights implications, because Garrison is a heavily African American area, and so it's going to be a little challenging. But you know, I'll do look, and anything can be done if we have non-compact districts, right? Where I can, but one of the things that makes the commission plan different is that it looks better than what if the legislators were drawing it, right? And you'll notice here, right? So this still has the problem with Block Hill, and so I'll change that. But there'll be a single member district here, probably one here, and then one right around here.
So you mentioned, Professor, that you had your marching orders. I guess what I'd like to hear from the commissioner, is there anything else that needs to be considered? Because Professor is going to be up all night writing these maps prior to his Senate testimony tomorrow, and we want to give him some time to do the work.
Well,
anything else?
So I want to tell you, just in spirit of transparency, I want to say the other things that I'm going to do. So I will also deal with the Montgomery County issue with River Road being the change here, since I made the change last time to Massachusetts Avenue, and then so what will change here is it'll go up basically to here, but that's about 3,000 people. So 10 will push in this way, 12 will go up in here, 11 will go down to get the rest of North Bethesda. Okay, and so I'll do a kind of rotation in there. I know we heard some testimony about 7C and all that, but and Burtonsville, but I do think this district is pretty good as it is, and it would require some major changes. So I'll keep that. One change I would like to make in if it's possible in Prince George's County, you'll see this municipality of Landover Hills is split. I want to see if I can keep that, put that unsplit into that was a result of the creation of Latino districts here, but I think it can be avoided. And so I will try to, even though it's a very strangely shaped municipality, as you can see, going up and down and all, I'll try to get at least most of the population into District 34A without any voting rights implications. But most of, I'll just spend my time trying to make sure that we don't have any big mistakes in Baltimore. And that's what I'm worried about now, is just mistakes that are going to be made. Anything that would mess with the deviations or VRA or something like that.
Would it work better if 15 was single member in order to make sure the representation was still fair, like we talked about?
Well, here's the way it's drawn right now, right? This is a 3-member majority African-American district. Let me just get the numbers on 15. It's 52.72, with basically 55% Black voting age population. If you broke it up into single member districts, which I might add would probably violate the principle though that you all have come up with, then you would, that's fine. It would be 2 majority African-American districts and 1 white district. And that could be something to consider. I don't think it's necessary though. It depends on how we define the Jewish community here and what the boundaries are. And so I don't know whether, Jonathan, you sent me some other information as well. Like, I don't know how, this I thought was a pretty nice line. Let's just get the roads up there.
I was wondering with that consideration, knowing that you wouldn't get everyone, I just wondering if it made more sense. So
yeah, no, that's a good idea. But so this was, the line here was following 129, right? And so that was, I thought, a good barrier. I don't know whether, how far to the west do we want, do we want this crossover district to go?
Perfection is hard to reach at this stage. I think that we've seen in, Jonathan shared a document from, I think, Associated Jewish Charities of Baltimore, that the population in question is quite spread out, and you couldn't actually get all of it into a district. You can make kind of, particularly for the Orthodox community, with its reasons to live closer together, you can make a district that bows in that direction and acknowledges, even if it does not succeed in going up to Owings Mills or other more complicated and difficult things to do.
Pikesville would be the one to keep together. Owings Mills, I know, it's a little further out there, and
well, but let's talk about what is Pikesville. So Pikesville goes, it's big, goes all the way over here. So, but the Jewish community isn't all Pikesville, right? So, and of course, once you start looking at the census blocks, right?
Yeah, could you? Yeah, that's it.
You see what I'm saying? So we can go maybe up. Maybe the barrier is this road right here, whatever it is, 140 or 140.
But that's it. Looks like a pretty good boundary to me. Does anyone know? Is there a vital part of the Jewish community that is a little bit to the west of that line that we need to know about, or
of 140?
Right. Or no, of the current boundary line between 16A and 15. That road, 129. Yeah.
Well, but on the maps that you gave me, it seemed to be going farther in this way, but I don't know. Like that when the ARU, that's just like right here, right? And is that limited to the eastern part, east of this road?
I'd have to look it up. I don't know.
I was just looking at the testimony that we received, and something they were talking about. Previous District 11 was drawn to keep the Jewish community whole in Baltimore County that stretches from Falls Road to all of Pikesville and up to Owings Mills.
Right. Well, and that just seems like too much here, right? Unless you're going to put Garrett. So this is the current Senate district, right? It goes up, but you can see the communities that it splits, right?
Mm-hmm.
But let me move this out of the way. And just to make it clear. So the blue lines are the existing districts. The black lines are, so look at Senate District 11, right? It's just a completely different. Now notice, again, it still obeys this line, right?
Mm-hmm.
So it doesn't go over, but if this goes way beyond what the Jewish community is.
Yeah.
Right. I think, and it's a multi-member district. Well, look, I'll just start working on this now, and I'll get it to you, but please take a very close look at it tomorrow, so that we can have sort of thoughtful edit, and email me during the day if there are edits that you think should be made to it. And then we'll progress that way.
All right. So any other comments for Professor Priscilli so he can start working? All right. Hearing none.
Thank you.
Yeah, sure.
Yeah. And good luck with your other.
I was going to say,
tomorrow.
if you want to watch, I'll be testifying before, Josh Hawley, Rand Paul, Kristen Cinema tomorrow at 10 a.m. Tune in.
At 10 a.m. and finishing with us as 9. I am impressed, Professor.
And then I'm getting on a plane back to California right after that. So we'll see.
Hey, look, make sure you get enough sleep tonight, because we don't need you sleep deprived and saying the wrong thing and end up.
I know.
Or something. I don't know how all that works, but we're gonna need you for tomorrow night. I know that for sure.
All right. Sounds good.
Good luck, Professor. Is there anything else from the other members of the commission? Okay, hearing none, I need a motion to adjourn.
Move to adjourn.
Second?
Second.
All in favor, indicate so by saying aye or raise your hand. All right, or you on in between that? That's okay too. All right, everybody have a good night, and I'll see you tomorrow night, 6 o'clock. And again, thanks so much, Professor. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.